Now, even if you're using a 75mm joist, once you get to the very end of it, if you have a screws right at the end, it will split the joist. You can't do anything about it. And that means that that last piece of decking is free to move. And here's a case where it's happened, you'll break a hip with something like that. So the lap joists are for safety. Now, I did see a case where they absolutely wanted the screws to be in a straight line, and in that case we put a nail plate at the end of the joists, stainless steel nail plate, which seems to have worked. But one way or the other, you have to consciously decide how do you keep that last board from getting loose. And of course, there's less debris to remove from the side. Well, that was the easy way to do the deck, with the boards running crosswise. Now, we're going to do it the complicated way, running them lengthways. And this is when the relationship with the posts and handrails and everything becomes an issue. So we've got our same deck. It's 12 metres by 3.6. So we swap the direction of the bearers, and they're extending the 12-metre length. Now, I was a pretty good sawmiller, but I couldn't cut 12-metre lengths. If you do a half check on the post, you don't have any clearances on your bolts. It's not a very sound structural joint. So our practice was to get a good joint, good connection to the posts, and then splice to the side. And that needs to be designed by an engineer. Nothing in your designs for a deck should be left to the builder's imagination. Nothing. And there's an example of a splice. See an emulsion into the bolt, see an emulsion into the joint, and it's working well. Again, don't leave anything to the imagination. Well, now the problems start. We've convinced him not to use a 50mm joist. That's we haven't got to go through that again. And basically, they continue to lay out the decks like an ordinary veranda at 450mm centres. And how do you join a piece of decking on a 50mm joist or even a 75mm joist, 4 screws in a concentrated together? They're too close to the end, it splits the decking, and you can imagine what the joist is like under that. Not very good. And we're aiming for this using 2 joists and about 150mm between them. That allows you to get your end clearance and also a 5mm gap between the ends of the boards. That 5mm gap is very important because your uptake of moisture through the end grain is about 8 times faster than through the side grain. You've got to protect your end grain. And you can see there, and you've seen often enough, how when decking is just butted together, how it decays. But very easy to solve. And there's my deck you would use incorrectly, but it looks a dash side better than the one we saw before. But our builders are worried. Bless them. Where would we be without them? My dad was a builder, so there's your comparison. So we recommend, and this involves using set length decking. So we'll start looking around about what modules will we use. And here this is what, a 3 metre and a 1.2, and 1.2 is a little bit short. And here we've got 3 3s and a 2 4. Good lengths, and a spread of lengths is ideal because it gives the sawmiller opportunity to use his fall down. So cut for the 3 3s, and any with a bad end go in for the short length. So we draw in our double headstocks, on those modules, and the first thing we did was we hit a post. Well, what do? We just move the post because it's very easy to do on AutoCAD. Very easy. Now, if you went with that arrangement, all your joins would be in a straight line. Now, that's not necessarily a bad thing, but it's probably not the aesthetics that we're used to. So we then do a mirror image of that, and I've hit the opposite post, to which I just, again, move it out of the way. So that's our double joists. Now, we fill in those areas. It's quite possible when you're laying out a deck that those centres could vary right throughout it. But that's fine. It's all dimension. The builder can lay out to a dimension. And then what you've got to do is check any of your bigger gaps. And it's all fine except that one right in the centre. And we put another joist in, we've hit a post again, and again we take the easy way out and we just move the post. But the deck we get looks like that. It looks as if it was intended to happen. It wasn't very hard to do, and if on paper we have solved all the issues that can cause a shorter life with your decking. One thing I haven't mentioned but should, your builder is going to try and maximise his profit. So you've specified deckwood, you're expecting deckwood, and the builder will go by anything that's of the same dimension, trusting that you won't notice the difference. We strongly recommend that all timber be independently verified for grade. I saw a case a couple of days ago. Big handrail, over 1 kilometre of handrail. It was supplied with untreated sapwood. Would have been easily picked up with independent verification of grade. Now the asset owner's got to have a barney with the builder, who's been paid. So the pile, pier, joist and handrail post interaction. Now I just took the easy way out and I just moved the post. Is that the right thing to do? And again, it's going to depend entirely upon your job. Now, this particular job just has a curb and nothing, you don't need to worry about any handrail on that. But in a case like that, where the piles are driven from a barge, your primary, and the piles are very, very expensive, your primary concern would be reducing the number of piles. That would, to me, would be your main criteria. So yes, it wouldn't matter in a case like that. Maximise your spans and reduce the number of piles. Case like this, where the handrail posts are fitting between the double bearers, yes, it would matter, because then the handrails would be different modules and it would look strange. So there, the posts would govern the design. This particular case, there was no attempt to fit the posts on top, handrail posts on top of the posts in the ground. No, it didn't matter there. That's how we attach our handrail post. Very, very simple. Bolts over the joist either way. Your engineering for an external structure should be expensive. Now the temptation is to get on the yellow pages, get 3 quotes and take the cheapest quote. And that would be the most expensive thing that you could do for your client. What you really need is an engineer who will factor in and take the time to consider different options rather than to give you an answer that, the first answer that is mathematically correct. Now, this particular job here that's at Calypso Bay, our consultant's fees to check that would have been, design would have been $5,500. Not a huge amount of money. But you've got 260 piles in that job, and they reckon they got them at a bargain at $650. Now, if you had a bright young engineer sit down and say, hey, your job for today is to save 10% of the piles. Well, what's that? $16,900. Makes cheap engineering very expensive.